Good morning. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Today is what? February 25th. We're already almost at the end of the month, Ted. Short month. They always sneak up on you. Damn it, February. I am Manila Chan. That over there is Ted Rall. You are tuned in to the Ted Manila Information Show, or the TMI Show for short, where we actually do bring you too much information. Today, the main topic is going to be the German elections. We have a guest slated to come in at 10:30. A real life German, Ted,
A German.
to tell us what happened in Germany. So today, I guess we'll focus on that on the back half of the show. We've got some headline news. So if you're brand new to the program, welcome. The first half of the show, we talk about all the hottest headlines. And Ted likes to drop F-bombs after the first 8 minutes. So we are live Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. So please be sure to like and follow this show, whatever platform, wherever you're consuming this info. Hit that like, hit the thumbs up, and the follow or subscribe button. Because, I hate that they all say different things, but that's fine. It is what it is. So in the interest of time, Ted, should we just hop straight over into the news? Because there's so
Love it.
much.
Let's do it.
So much. Let's do it.
It's the third anniversary of the Ukraine war. Well, it was yesterday. It came and went, and the U.S. is rapidly reorienting where it stands. The tectonic shift was laid bare in the UN General Assembly, where the U.S. broke with its European allies and came out against Ukraine's resolution against Russian aggression and calling for the withdrawal of Russian troops. Instead, the U.S. put out a rival resolution calling for an end to the conflict, but didn't blame Russia for starting it. In the end, both resolutions got adopted. Leading up to a series of votes, the U.S. had been lobbying countries around the world to oppose the resolution, which was brought forward at the General Assembly on the third anniversary of the war, and to approve the U.S. version instead. However, the Trump administration was forced to abstain from its own resolution after European countries won support for 3 amendments that it didn't agree with. Despite the lack of U.S. support, the U.S. resolution with the new language got adopted by the UN General Assembly with 93 votes in favor, 8 against, and 73 abstentions. Meanwhile, Emmanuel Macron, president of France, hung out with Trump in D.C. yesterday in an attempt to get Europe and the U.S. back on the same page. During the meeting, Trump refused to call Putin a dictator and claimed that the U.S. has spent 3 times more money than Europe in order to support Ukraine, but that apparently isn't true. He's expected to brief EU leaders today ahead of a potential defense summit on this Sunday. Macron's takeaway: a truce could be weeks away, but should not be a surrender. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who, by the way, with that name, should really be leading Germany, not England.
Yeah, I know, right? It just sounds so...
Keir Starmer is also expected to meet with Trump in D.C. on Thursday in order to discuss Ukraine's security.
Well, first, Ted, let me go backwards on that. Besides Starmer, barf, with his 100-year unlimited friendship deal, whatever it is that he was making with Ukraine, people seem to gloss over that he just decided this is what the UK is going to offer to Zelensky. 100 years, no limits, friendship, whatever. I don't know. I don't think he even knows, because at the time that Starmer went to Kiev, I don't know, I'd say about a month ago, he did not clear it with Parliament that he was going to do this. And so when he returned home, they were like, what the hell, bro? And I guess they have to hammer out what's happening, on the UK front. Now, on the EU side, what Trump is saying is not actually false. I know the news article says it's false, but it's not technically false, because Trump, being Trump, is probably saying all in the U.S. has given more than the EU, which is absolutely true. The EU is parsing this by way of saying, no, we're giving them more cash infusions than the U.S., right? Direct cash. The U.S., by leaps and bounds, have given a gazillion more times in the way of military aid. Gotcha. And the money that we're loaning is what Trump is trying to get back in the way of mineral contracts from Ukraine, from the old Yukis there. So it's not totally false, because Trump, being Trump and in his Trumpian way, is saying we've given way more. Like that's true.
Well, I mean, I agree. I mean, look, if someone gives me an F-18, I mean, they're not free. I mean,
right.
It's like so they count, right?
Someone right. And Macron's like, no, oh no, we have given more than you.
Only cash counts.
They're counting.
I don't think so.
Yeah, he's trying to dispute Trump and be like, oh no, we have given more euros than you have.
Well, and there's also the question of like what Congress has. There's like the allocation,
right,
and then there's the actual disbursements, which are two different things, which a lot of people don't understand. But yeah,
right. So I mean, that's that. I don't think Macron's visit had too much of in Macron's world, a positive impact. Although the weird thing that Trump was saying about Putin agreeing to European peacekeepers there, I don't know about that. I would need to fact check that again.
No, Putin has not agreed to that, and nor would he.
So.
Nor would he, because he's well. I think he said Putin. My understanding about Putin's stance is that he's okay with it as long as the Europeans say, if they come, they're not like NATO. They don't represent NATO. They're not covered by Article 5. So if there's peacekeepers, they're white helmets, and they include Europeans. That's different.
Right. They are European people.
They are people. They are allowed to be European. They are allowed to have a taste for baguettes, but they are not allowed to. But they can't be like, if they get shot at, be like, call in the nukes, call Keir Starmer.
Right. And last thing, Ted, when are we going to remodel the UN in New York City? Because this looks like it came out of like the Enterprise Starship or something. Like this, it just looks ominous, doesn't it?
It's very it's very much the post-war internationalist style of architecture, which that building is. When you see it from the outside, it's just a giant. My mom colorfully referred to it as a shoebox standing on its side. And it's
not great.
It's not a great looking building, really.
But inside.
They're broke, right? Aren't they? Don't they really have enough money to like? I don't think they're gonna like rehab that thing ever.
The UN is broke. I've never thought about it, so I don't know. I never looked into who pays money. Who
every
who
member,
all pays
every
for their
member
rent?
State pays a fee to belong, and for a long time the U.S. was in arrears, and it really fucked them up. Like
Which is funny because it's New York.
Well, yeah, it's like we're the host country. The UN was our idea, so like it's so American, right? Like,
I've never really thought about it, about how they pay their bills and who pays what. And like it's like, okay, France, if you want your office space in the UN building, you need to pay X amount of dollars.
They get it, yeah, but they get it even if they don't pay. Like
really?
They get billed, but there's no penalty really for not paying.
But isn't the whole building kind of like an airport terminal? It's like this international no man's land.
It's technically that's right. It's technically not in New York City.
So it's not a taxable piece of real property?
No, it's not. It's like you said, it's like a no man's land. It's sort of like Vatican City in the middle of Rome, or
weird,
or something like that. Yeah. So
I never really thought about it.
And there's some people who are stateless have UN passports. Like they are, yeah. You can and if you're a diplomat, you get a UN passport, but it's useless, really. But,
it's like having a Vatican passport.
Well, Vatican passport's probably far more useful.
Probably,
because it's like
I've never thought about this.
It's like if you're rude to me in airport security, God's going to be pissed.
That's true. I'm just saying. And by the way, the Pope, like, hopefully, he's the getting better.
The Pope seems to be slowly recovering on the mend.
Hey, I know all about that double pneumonia. Just saying.
And the boogie woogie flu.
I get it, man. I get it. But yeah, we should look into that. I feel like there are some consequences that New York City is paying for having the building there and nobody paying taxes and people are in arrears. So how do you pay the staff that works there? How do you pay the cleaning crew, the security crew? I'm just curious to know how it functions. Like I never thought about it until right now.
That's really funny. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't even know if the fee is what the fee is based on. Is it based on your GDP? Is it based on your population? Is it based on...
See, nobody knows, Ted.
How cute you are? I don't know.
Hottest chicks? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know who would get that. Maybe Kazakhstan would have to pay the most. They have the hottest chicks.
Really?
Oh my God.
I've never been. How would I know? Interesting. We're going to have to look this up. And I think the Rumble chat is going to go off the chains now going, no, this country has the hottest chicks. No, this country. No, that country.
Yeah, maybe. I hate to admit this. Israel, even though they're genocidal maniacs, they do have some really hot genocidal soldier chicks.
I do have a girlfriend who is a native Israeli, and she's stunning.
Yeah, no, there's some, I don't know what it is, like beautiful but mean. Yeah.
That's what you guys like, Ted.
That's
just
true.
Saying.
Yeah,
that's what you men like.
I'm not going to lie and say I've never dated an Israeli girl.
The crazy eyes. You guys like the crazy eyes. You and Jamaro.
Trying to change that.
All right. Let's move on.
Moving on as the
this
conversation
one
disintegrates.
I don't like
House
this.
Republicans are expected to vote on a spending blueprint today that would kickstart the legislative process for enacting Trump's policy agenda, but nearly $1 trillion in potential cuts to Medicaid has made some Republicans worried, threatening to derail the passage. Fiscal year 2025's spending plan would likely lead to about $800 billion in cuts from Medicaid over the next 10 years, part of $2 trillion in overall cuts to help pay for $4.5 trillion in tax cuts, plus boosts in defense and border spending. Wait, I'm confused. I thought we were cutting defense. Anyway, the federal government's Medicaid program provides health care coverage to more than 72 million Americans. While the resolution doesn't explicitly call for cuts to Medicaid, skeptical lawmakers warn that there's virtually no other way to get to $880 billion in cuts, that the resolution asks the Energy and Commerce Committee with finding, without cutting Medicaid, moderate Republicans in vulnerable purple districts, and those where significant portions of their constituents are on Medicaid, which is to say people who are poor and working class, have expressed resistance to cuts in Medicaid. Well, I mean, they're between a rock and a hard place, I would say.
I mean, Ted, this is so here's the thing, that I'm not surprised coming from Donald Trump's administration that they would pay for these cuts on the backs of the poor and working class. I'm not shocked whenever it comes from any Republican, right?
No.
This is sort of the standard bearer establishment GOP baseline.
Yeah, this is what they do. It's what Reagan did.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
But what I'm more disturbed by is the non-existence of the political left in America that should be defending that. They're not there. They let it go.
Even today, James Carville has a piece in today's op-ed page of the New York Times calling for Democrats to play possum and play dead, not fight anything, let the Republicans have their way on everything, and then it'll all be really unpopular and disastrous, and then Democrats will sweep in and pick up the pieces after the fact.
Is he now is he a GOP plant now? Like, what the hell?
I mean, it's very strange because he, like Trump, he veers back and forth between stupidity and genius so often.
I'm more disturbed that there are people like, believe it or not, Josh Hawley, who say any Republican that votes for this, or any Congress member that votes to move forward with this, is signing their political death warrant. And I'm paraphrasing what he said, but he did say their political death warrant. And I agree. I think not only is that smart politics coming from Hawley, who I more often than not vehemently disagree with, but he's right on that part. With the midterms coming up, a lot of these politically unstable seats might be up for grabs because these, these members of Congress, these Republicans, a lot of them are not guaranteed a win, next year.
No, but Manila, I'll tell you, there's the problem is this is a perfectly half-baked idea on Carville's part, and I have a feeling it's pretty popular among Democrats because, after all, anyone who's too, if you tell me, hey Ted, just don't do anything, I'm like, I can do that. But the half-baked part is, okay, you can let Republicans, you can jujitsu it and let the Republicans have their way and piss everyone off. But you're not going to pick up the pieces if you're viewed as never having been, you have no credible resistance. If you've let it all happen, everyone blames you too. And what happens is, everyone hates the Republicans, but they hate the Democrats as well. It's like, the Democrats have to be seen as trying. And as it is, The Hill had a piece yesterday about how Democratic donors, both small donors, a la Bernie Sanders types, and the major contributors are shutting their checkbooks. They just are not interested in giving money to the Democrats because the Democrats don't have any fight in them, no gumption. Right. They don't have any plans. They don't have any messaging. It's like, why should we give them money? They're just going to squander it. I mean, Kamala Harris blew through $1.5 billion in campaign
in 100 days.
Right. That's very much worth noting. Right. There's a very short campaign. She spent more money than anyone's ever spent before. She outspent Trump, I don't know, 4 or 5 to 1. And we know the results. Right. So it's not going to work. It's a mistake.
I would advise not to follow James Carville's advice on this because in the meantime, as you wait for public backlash over the next 2 to 3 or 4 years, right? Millions of people will die, Ted. Millions of people will get sick. Millions of this. That's what I'm more worried about is the actual physical, tangible impacts is that moms are going to die. Women that can't get breast cancer screenings that were not as fortunate as me, right, to have private insurance are going to die. They're not going to get caught early. Millions of children are going to be left orphaned because a lot of these moms are single moms that are on Medicare, Medicaid, right? There are tangible, horrible outcomes that'll happen if you follow James Carville's advice for the next 2 years and as you wait to get primaried. This is a horrible thing. The Democrats, I'm not as pissed on the Republicans for doing this because, like I said, it's par for the course. But for the Democrats, I lost Ted. Ted actually closed himself out of here. He's like, fuck this, I'm out. But anyway, I'm not as pissed oh wait, there's Ted. Ted's coming back. Ted, you're like, fuck this, I'm out.
That was my fault. I just went to, I have a Mac, and if you move your mouse the wrong way, it closes the screen. And when you're not even trying to close the screen, it's very annoying.
Well, you didn't miss much other than me saying this is par for the course for Republicans, so I'm not as mad. I'm not surprised. This is what they do. 79
I know that's how I've always had that same take, and I'm glad to hear
Democrats.
My take has always been Republicans, they can't help themselves. They're just they're predatory. Yeah, and they hate ordinary poor people, and but Democrats market themselves as the party of Joe and Jane Sixpack.
They don't care,
and they should act like
that's
it.
The problem,
yeah.
Right? It's false advertisement. So that's why. Producer Robbie has an opinion and he needs to join. All right. All right. Go for it, Robbie, before we move to the next subject.
Well, remember how I was saying that that the Republicans could still lose the MAGA vote even though Trump won? This is how they lose. You don't keep the workers. You don't keep the populists by screwing them over. You do the exact opposite of what you're doing. I agree. Medicare and Medicaid need to be reformed. How you fix that? You fix it with the UBI. You fix it by actually, bringing jobs in before throwing out tariffs. So what's the point of tariffing to protect an industry that doesn't exist? It makes no sense to me. That's all I got.
It's all kinds of ass backwards on this, and I think
it's stupid.
This is political suicide if the Republicans. There goes Robbie.
Yeah, and they've got to know it. Especially, the red states, more people are on Medicaid in the red states than in the blue
Yeah.
states, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, the problem
So,
is that like a lot of
think it's
people
dumb.
in the red states don't really know like where Medicaid comes from. I mean, there's been those famous signs where people are like, government's hands off my Medicaid. It's
Right.
like, it is a
And-
government program.
I mean, on top of that, it's also, you know, some of this money goes towards SNAP, right? Like how it's
Mhm.
allocated. So food is going to be impacted, starving people, starving children. Like my thing
Mhm.
has always been, I've always been very vocal about children and the elderly, because they are the two most vulnerable sections of our society, and they never get a voice. And
And
old
remember,
people,
the elderly are our future.
like, that is our future. You will be elderly one day. Like, if you are lucky, you will be elderly one day,
Mhm.
right?
That's true.
So, I mean,
But
if
you
you're
might not be
fortunate-
elderly if the Medicaid
Right,
cuts
if-
go through. So problem solved. Bing.
So you just drop dead early because, you know, women in their 40s like me won't find out that they have breast cancer because screenings won't be covered, because you're going to, you know, cut costs there. Or, you know, the rising colorectal cancers among people under age
that's
50.
my favorite.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all back there getting tubes, you know, like checked out back there, because like so many cancers run prevalent in my family. So I'm all for, you know, squishing the boobs, tubes up the ass, go check it out, just go for it.
Kinky.
It's horrible, but you're asleep anyways, so you'll just wake up and feel like you need to go poop. I mean, but really,
No, you won't feel like you need
gotta
to
do
go
it.
poop because everything's already empty from the night before.
Oh, that's true. No, but you feel gassy. You will feel gassy because the air.
Yeah, they pump. They pump. Yeah,
yeah.
they pump stuff up in there.
Yeah.
So you have the biggest farts of all time. Which is, you know, it's worth it just for that, really.
There are remnants. There are remnants, Ted.
Yeah, that's true. Well, little bits and pieces. All right. Just days after a Chinese naval helicopter nearly collided with a Philippine patrol plane over a contested reef, the Chinese military started live fire exercises in waterways near Vietnam and between Australia and New Zealand over the weekend in an unprecedented display of firepower. Beijing's democratic critics put up their own show of force. On Sunday, France held military exercises with the Philippines and promised to deepen their defense ties. On Monday, Japan did the same thing, forging a security pact with the Filipinos. France, which is looking to assert its status as a Pacific power through its overseas island, with its overseas island territories, places like New Caledonia across the region, Tahiti, and so on, is negotiating an agreement with the Philippines to allow troops to train on one another's land, similar to Manila's deal, not our Manila, but with the U.S. and Australia. At a meeting in Manila on Monday, Japanese Defense Minister Gen Nakatani and his Philippine counterpart, Gilberto Teodoro, agreed to work together to counter unilateral attempts by China and other countries to change the international order and the narrative. After Vietnam released new maps, so here we go with the new maps, marking what Hanoi considers its maritime boundary with China, Beijing on Monday began 4 days of live fire military exercises in the Gulf of Tonkin. And Vietnam has yet to respond. But the good thing is, Manila, nothing bad has ever happened from live fire in the Gulf of Tonkin. So
totally fine.
Nothing to worry about there.
No, totally fine. And I'm not at all worried that, you know, as if the colonial French Empire never existed in Asia. I'm not living proof of that at all, Ted.
No, that's true.
You know?
And although in fairness, it is important to note that the Tonkin Gulf incident that LBJ used to justify the U.S.'s entrance into the Vietnam War never happened. There was no Tonkin Gulf incident.
Right. There was no Gulf.
The American ship was never fired at. That is widely acknowledged by everybody, including conservatives who supported the war. It is now historians, universally accept that it was just a lie.
Totally, because we have always looked for an excuse to enter any war, Ted. That's American foreign policy of the 20th century. That's par for the course. So
That's true.
there's that. And so this is why we had our guest on in the Philippines a week or two ago, because I think a lot of people have not paid attention to what's happening in the Philippines and why this is so vitally important, because we've already seen, as you mentioned, the Gulf of Tonkin literally be part of the strategic, albeit false, the strategic means for the United States, or in this case, France, another Western power, to find a way in to I don't know, I would say create tensions and war, Ted.
Clearly. All right, let's keep going. Apple announced yesterday plans to invest more than $500 billion in the U.S. over the next 4 years. Its largest ever spending commitment. The initiative includes hiring approximately 20,000 new workers across multiple states, primarily focused on R&D, silicon engineering, and AI. A significant portion will fund a new AI server manufacturing facility in Houston. That facility will produce servers supporting Apple Intelligence, the company's AI's powered personal assistant system, shifting the production of those servers from outside the U.S. to here in the U.S. The announcement comes amid renewed pressure from Trump regarding tariffs on goods from China. And of course, that's where Apple assembles most of its products, when in between the times that its workers are jumping out the window and committing suicide. The investment follows previous commitments by Apple. In 2021, the company pledged $430 billion in U.S. investments. It has since expanded domestic manufacturing, including chip production in Arizona. So this kind of answers a question that I saw on Fox yesterday, where someone was arguing that this is the Trump effect, but they did the same thing basically in 2021, roughly the same amount of money under Biden. So it just seems like this is just Apple being Apple and recognizing that there are advantages to doing things here in the States, and you avoid a lot of shipping costs, and during the pandemic, a lot of these companies noted supply chain issues, with container ships, and you don't have those when you make stuff in the market where you're going to actually sell stuff. So I think that's really all that's going on here. Manila, you're muted. You are mutified.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. For Trump, though, that is a victory for him, because it makes him look like this
he can claim
big business boss. Yeah, it's a victory.
But it doesn't. It's not really true. But all right, in this case,
no, but it looks that way. And I do see our guest, Dr. Ike Hammer, in the background in the green room. He's got it. Dr. Hammer, if you can hear us, you got to flip your camera. It's sideways, but you have a few minutes, so don't worry. Take your time. Now he's upside down. So I think he has an apple like you, Ted. Apple is very confusing.
Yeah, well, no, Apple does weird stuff. All right. A federal judge on Monday rejected the Associated Press's request for a temporary restraining order that would have required the White House to allow the news wire services access to Trump, to restore that access, handing his administration an initial win in what is bound to be a prolonged legal struggle. Judge Trevor McFadden cited the fact, I hate this, by the way, that the AP waited more than a week to file suit as evidence that there wasn't a dire situation or irreparable harm caused by waiting for a trial, according to reporters in the courtroom. I mean, okay, regardless of how you feel about this, and I can argue this case either way, that's pure sophistry. I mean, maybe the AP was waiting a couple of days to see if Trump was going to change his mind.
Right.
And, okay, so anyway, the decision came as a surprise, with the AP widely expected by the press corps in the White House to win this initial ruling in the standoff triggered by the organization's refusal to change its style guide. So what this is all about is what happened is the AP agreed to change its style guide to change Mount Denali to Mount McKinley in Alaska on the basis that the president has the power to do that because it's all in the United States, but they're not changing it from the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America because no other country is acknowledging it. Therefore, and the AP is an international wire service. So anyway, then the Trump administration, the White House, basically told the AP, all right, well, your reporters can't come to White House press briefings anymore or any presidential meeting. The AP, I should say, is arguably one of the biggest news sources in the world. It's the biggest wire service. It's really the only real big wire service left. UPI is like a sliver of its former self. Reuters is small in the U.S. Anyway, the AP and most newspapers subscribe to the AP. The AP argued in its lawsuit that its free speech and due process rights were being violated by being refused access to Trump's events, including as members of the Daily Press Pool. I mean, look, retaliation is actually illegal under federal law. So I assume that's what the AP is partly relying on, that this is a retaliatory. I mean, it is a government restriction. So what the White House argument is like, we are not obligated to speak to the AP or anyone else. It's like we have free speech rights to not speak to whoever we want. We have freedom of association under the Constitution. Right. And it's certainly true that, press access is a zero-sum game. If you give Manila a press pass, that's a press pass Ted doesn't get, right? So, and vice versa. So if the AP doesn't get a press pass, that press pass might go to someone else. So it's
not a right.
It's not a right. That's Trump's argument. But on the other hand, it's clearly a government restriction on a media organization that's designed to bully a media organization into changing what they say. And I would say, in other words, we want you to call it the Gulf of America in your news coverage. That's the government telling the AP what to report and how to report it. Now, that's a violation of the First Amendment, no question about it. So it's going to be super interesting to see how this goes. I expected the AP to win this hearing as well, but it sounds like the judge is a bit of a dip.
I agree with that. I can see both sides of the argument. Being a member of the press here in Washington, D.C., I mean, there were times in the past, in the Obama era, when little old Manila Chan and RT was granted White House access, and there were times that we were not, because none of it. I mean, even poor Ed Schultz. I mean, sometimes they granted him access, sometimes they didn't. But again, it's a privilege, not a right. No matter how big AP's reach is, no matter how storied or bastardized, whatever you think of them, they are. It is a privilege, not a right. And if the White House,
it's a thuggish tactic on the part of the White House. It reminds me a lot of
but they have the right to pull your press pass, is my point, is that it is not it is a privilege. Like I said, it's not a right. And so, I don't agree with the White House doing that, but at the same time, I think they're within their rights to pull your press pass.
I think they're within, I think they'd be within their right to pull the press pass. I don't think that, but I think where they screw up is by saying why. Because they said, if you'll get it back if you start calling it the Gulf of America. That's the problem with what the White House did.
Correct.
The White House just pulled it without comment and just said, we're giving it to Newsmax or whatever. That's like,
we're making
they'd get away with that. They'd get away with that.
I agree. It was dumb of their part. But here we are. So I guess it just boils down to I guess, preference at the White House. And, I think the judge, I don't know what.
It's going to be appealed, obviously. And then it's going to go to the U.S. Supreme Court, obviously.
Well, the White House has argued that because of that the AP is proliferating fake news.
Because of the Gulf of America?
Yes. So there we are. There we are. All right. Let's just leave that there, and we'll get to our main topic. Give us a second. I see Dr. Ika.
Is he right side up?
He's right side up, but I mostly see his tie. So we'll fix that when he gets on air with us. Okay. We'll fix that in just a moment. So in the meantime, let's switch gears and head over to our main topic.
Okay, when German politics move to the right, the world gets understandably nervous. Germany's Alternative for Germany, also known as AfD party, came in second in parliamentary elections, largely on the strength of German anger over the state of the economy and anti-migration sentiment. Has AfD peaked out? In other words, could it become the number one ranked party as they would like to do? Or is this pretty much it? Does this presage results in France in a couple of years and other European countries? And how should we feel and respond to the rise of the German right? Joining us, and I apologize in advance for my atrocious German, is Dr. Eike Hammer, the economist and publisher of Wirtschaft aktuell, a business publication in Germany. You can learn more about Dr. Hammer and his work at hammerbrief.de. That's DE for Deutschland. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Hammer.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Ike, how did Ted's German do? Was that okay?
Very well, yes. Perfectly.
Oh.
I do have a German name, but I don't speak German. Yeah. My father's family is German.
Wow, nice.
Bavarian.
Oh, I see it. Rall is German, but
Yeah,
his
it's
mom
Bavarian.
was French.
That's right.
Yeah, I think in America there's the biggest German outside society in the world. I think
Oh, is it?
there are more German in no country than America. United States are the Germans. Nowhere are more German origin people like in United States. And
That's correct.
quite a nice or quite a funny thing was in 1900s when they decided whether English or German should be the national language. It was just one vote that decided in favor of English. Otherwise, you would have spoken German now.
Yeah, that would be German. Well, they're both hard languages to learn. I think.
Yeah.
German,
Exactly. You're very lucky that you
yeah.
learn English. No, but
Yeah,
German,
but I think 21st century, Dr. Hammer, and you can debate me on this. I would say 21st century, the language to learn is Chinese.
Agreed.
well, maybe yes, but I think we have a quite, and there we are directly in the topic. I think we have a new worldwide strategy or global development developing, and this will be that the Eurasian continent will grow together. It's not seen yet because
Really?
of these fights with Ukraine, especially the Brits, but also the Americans under Biden and those type of people. They try to prohibit a peaceful coalition between the Russians and the Germans, but this is over. With Ukraine, with the loss in Ukraine, and this is just a matter of days now, I think, this will end, and we will have a peaceful, maybe even a peaceful trade union between Lisbon and Vladivostok, so the entire Northern Hemisphere, including the Americans, because America, the United States, is a best buddy with Germany. They have nowhere such great relationships, such intense private networks, relationships, friendships, and so on. America understands the German legal system better than any other legal system in the world. So this is a perfect hub Germany is a perfect hub for them to work together at the Eurasian continent. And I think this will be the future world market. And China, of course, is a huge and an extremely important superpower, maybe the greatest economic power at the minute from the real industry. But I think the rest will dominate.
Well, Dr. Hammer, I got to ask about this new guy, Friedrich Merz.
Yes.
He seems to be, I mean, he's the incoming chancellor. He seems to be, his rhetoric at least, seems to be more pro-Ukraine, which is now very opposite from Donald Trump's administration's position on what to do there. He seems almost like he would be worse than Olaf Scholz in that regard. And then, the second biggest party to win was the AfD. We've already seen a light coalition fail under Olaf Scholz. Won't this be more of the same then?
Well, to say yes, it will. But let's have a little closer look at this Mr. Merz. Mr. Merz is representing this old, like Biden type deep state network or syndicate with regime change and so on and so on. This is where he comes from. He used to be chairman of the Rothschild Beteiligungsgesellschaft, which is the Rothschild investment fund in Germany. Afterwards, he was chairman of the BlackRock Germany. So he is very well connected into these things, but they are done. They are over. The world is tired of these people. And you saw it at the last Davos meeting where the oligarchs from Henry Kissinger and these other high net worth individuals met. It was like third class people came up. There was nobody of really importance anymore. Even though it belongs, the majority of this Davos stuff belongs to BlackRock, it must have been a terrible dinner that Friedrich Merz had with Larry Fink. So I'm not too sure whether he will really succeed as a chancellor, because it seems that he doesn't have the support of his former boss and his and the new sheriff in town, as J.D. Vance called it, Donald Trump. And he has no chance at all, and he's not regarded anyhow, even highly at the Russians, because he represents the Merkel era, where he was in the board of the Christian Democratic Party, and they betrayed everybody. They betrayed the Russians, and they betrayed everybody. So he will have very, very much difficulties to regain credibility, and he doesn't have it. He already lost credibility, or is going to lose credibility as the own voters, because what you hear today is that he doesn't want to stick to any of his promises in the election. So what he promised firmly to change, he doesn't want anymore. And all the possibilities that he can, the coalition he could make, would not allow any of his promises he made to his own people. So this will get really a bumpy road in the next time.
Yeah, and what about what has he promised the German electorate in the way of economic progress? Because as we know, Germany traditionally is the engine of the European Union that keeps all business and the economy flowing over there, but it's been losing steam ever since the departure of Angela Merkel. I mean, what is this guy promising the people of Germany?
Yeah, he just made some vague promises without any detail that he wants to have the big change, like being open for different types of energy supply, meaning maybe nuclear plants back, maybe rebuild other plants so that we get the energy problem solved, get it cheaper again. He just calls out he would be in favor of Mittelstand, but he's acting exactly opposite to this. So there's nothing really. He is coming up, so we have to assume that it is a continuation of what we saw that led us into this disaster. And he is representing especially those parts who led us into this disaster. So that means that for the European partners, it is very, very severe. If you consider that the European Union is nothing else but a plundering club against Germany, and the victim is now done, then good luck with the arrest to plunder more. It's not possible. So what we are seeing now is like the destruction of the EU and probably even the destruction of the NATO, because with people like Friedrich Merz, Donald Trump doesn't feel too comfortable to keep pouring in billions to Europe for keeping these more than 100,000 soldiers in Europe and pay for it. That won't happen. That's what he already said. So Merkel is Friedrich Merz is going to be
same, Dr. Hammer.
Same, exactly. And he has no choice. He's in a very bad situation now. He excluded the only other possibility to make a coalition, the AfD. He excluded this. That means he is dependent on the socialists. And the socialists already said, nothing what you promised will happen with us. So what do we want to do?
That's incredible. Go ahead, Ted.
Yeah. So, Doctor, I mean, do you think that there's going to be is Europe going to be sidelined? And if so, does that mean it falls apart, or does that mean it just stays unified but sidelined and bypassed as Trump's U.S. tries a rapprochement with Russia and China, right? I mean, they're trying to demilitarize. There's this, which seems to be, I mean, you could see the incentives are massive for all three countries to do that. They're going to save trillions of dollars.
Well, the people are sick of the European Commission. They are sick of this bureaucracy that is too far away from a democracy, where non-elected people or set-in people are just ruling and can't be held accountable for fraud, for committing crimes, and so on and so on. People are sick of this. But the US is now sick of it too, even though it is a creation of CIA close people. So they are all sick of it, and the Russians anyway are sick of this, because they will not be treated very well. But now we have an additional problem arising. The EU spent money they didn't have. For example, they took the money they stole from the Russians and handed it out for Ukraine. So they have to pay it back now, because Donald Trump and the Trump administration already hinted that Russia will get all the money back. So of course the Europeans have to give the money back too, meaning that they have to come up with more than 400 billion euros extra money. And where do you want to get it from? The Germany economy is going down the drain, so you can't get it from the German taxpayers. You can't do extra debts. So that's why he wants to change the constitution in Germany, because he wants to do more debt than allowed. And the European Union is basically bust. They have already spent all their budget for the next years. So this entity has to go away. Nobody likes it anymore. Not the Italians. The French citizens are revolting. Everybody is revolting against this institution. And I think this is bust. And Friedrich Merz tries to keep it up as long as possible, because he is an absolutely fan of this bureaucracy. But I don't think he will succeed. I don't think he will even finish his term.
What about young people, though, and the freedom of movement, the fact that if you're born in the Czech Republic, you can go to Poland and get a job, no problem. And, I mean, that seamlessness has to be the most appealing aspect of the European project.
No, that could be possible in any that could always be possible, because you just make agreements with these countries, or with all countries together, to have a free movement. That's not the problem. The main problem, or the main project of the EU, is to take out the democratic rights of the people, to make it a huge entity that, for example, every nation is just a minority in the entire project, and that no group is able to make really changes, that the bureaucracy, the office, the so-called the commissioners in Brussels, that they can rule like a CEO of a company with no majority shareholder, or with no significant shareholder. This is the trick they do. So they surpass democracy, basically. This is what they wanted, but people are sick of it. They don't want it anymore. So the Czech people, they go to work somewhere, but they definitely don't go to Germany or not to Poland. Why? Because they are Germany taxes people who want to work so highly, and is so badly for those people, that they rather go to the United States, to Switzerland, or to other places where you have much lower taxes, where you have a much more economic friendly surrounding. In Germany, most of those people come who don't want to work, who want to be paid by those who work, the remaining Germans, and
The
the
welfare.
Germans are fleeing.
The welfare, yeah.
The welfare, yeah.
Yeah, so we have a viewer question for you, Dr. Hammer.
Yes.
Adrian is asking, assuming the CDU enter into a grand coalition with the SPD, how long do you think that will last? And my question, I'll add to that, is what happens to Annalena Baerbock? Does she go away?
Well, maybe she is making a second career as a dancer, like the first one. But
Really? Is this true?
no. I think she's out. I think she stays in the party. She will try to keep on taking public money as long as possible, and trying to be on our payroll as much as possible. But I think the coalition would maybe last 1 or 2 years, not more, if it even comes into place, because the new head of the Socialist Party already said that he would only enter into coalition when the members vote in favor of it. So it's a pretty bumpy road still to do, and maybe we get re-elections even before we have a new chancellor. So we are stuck with Olaf Scholz until then.
Well, wow. Well, in the interim, can you explain for us, a lot of people, I guess, in America, because they don't pay attention, obviously, to foreign elections, because we just had our own wild elections here in the U.S. Can you explain the AFD and why the American media in particular, they keep trying to juxtapose AFD to like this white nationalist, far right, anti every race other than white, basically, right? I mean, because nationalism, I would argue, is different than racism. Would you agree?
No, this is BS. The head of the AFD is someone who lives with his girlfriend in a married relationship. So I'm sorry.
Oh.
She is a lesbian, open lesbian, everything. So that's why should she be no? This is all BS. This is a framing, because the AFD is taking away these extremely high-paid politician jobs in Germany. So the parties who were there already, they are fearing, and they have to share now they are losing their people in favor of the AFD. They are taking over more and more seats. So, for example, if you are a politician in the Bundestag, in our federal parliament, you not only get this huge salary, which is, I think, 5 times the average salary, or 3 times the average salary of a German. You also get most of it tax-free, plus so many benefits. You get 3 or 4 people paid full-time that serve you, and so on. You get free, everything free, and so on. You have every second day, you have some meeting where you can eat and drink as much as you want. It's really like paradise. And of course, these people who have never learned anything in the Socialist Party or the Green Party, most of them didn't even finish any education. They of course, for them it's a dream, because in the normal life they would maybe be dishwashers or like taxi drivers or something like this, or even hanging out in the social benefit program. So these people have never learned anything else but being in politics and being paid by the taxpayer. So of course these people hate the AFD people like nothing else, because they are their biggest danger. But most of the AFD people, the politicians, they come from the old parties. They worked at the Christian Democratic Party, at the Socialist Party, even at the Green Party. They have been members there, and they say, this party that we left has nothing to do anymore with the origin of this party. So the Green Party is not for environment anymore. It's for war. It's for this deindustrialization something. This is not in the sense of those people who were there. The people, the Christian Democratic Party now calls their own program right-wing, right radical, their own program. The demands from the AFD are mostly nothing else but the demands from the Christian Democratic Party about 15 to 20 years ago. So this is all ridiculous. It's a framing. that a very centralized media does, which is supported by the German federal government with over 400 million euros, and the US aid by another few $100 million. That's why they write whatever these people in power want. But it has nothing to do with free media or with a neutral picture or with a real picture.
The AfD is being characterized in liberal democratic media circles here in the United States as basically almost like a second rise of Nazism, something to be deeply concerned about. The AfD is called far right, much the way that the Marine Le Pen's party in France is called far right. Although, I know that by American standards, it would not really be considered far right. The French party would not be at all. But I mean, so, how far from reality is that? That's so far from reality, like on another planet. This is not true at all. What they call far right, it would be like, as I said, it's a danger. What the AfD wants is they are against this the downturn of the purchasing power of the euro, for example, as it was promised to all of us when the euro was introduced in 2001. They promised us it would be as strong as the Deutsche Mark. And that's why these people were angry. That was the foundation of the AfD. They were against this policy of overstretching the mandate of the ECB, which did this all over, not in the European
first
Central Bank.
European Central Bank, yes. Not in the first term of Wim Duisenberg, but as soon as they have introduced the euro, they got rid of Wim Duisenberg, the first chairman of the European Central Bank, and put in somebody who would inflate the euro and lower the purchasing power. And that's when the AfD started to arise. And a present topic, what they say is the same as in the United States. Basically, what the AfD wants are the same things that Donald Trump said to make America great again. And the AfD says we have to make Germany great again, because otherwise nobody around, even those who benefit in the European Union and so on, has any benefit when Germany goes down the drain.
Talk to us a little bit, Dr. Hammer, about AfD's position on immigration. Is that comparable to what you hear from Donald Trump and the MAGA movement, and how quickly they are moving to remove illegal immigrants from the U.S.? Is that comparable to AfD's position?
Slightly, not in that extent. The AfD wants to remove those immigrants who have got a court rule that they have to leave Germany. But they are not leaving because the nowadays politicians just leave them here. They are fooling the courts. So the court ruled you have to leave Germany because you have no right to be here. And the AfD says, so they have to leave. It's more than 1 million people in Germany. The AfD says you cannot pay the immigrants more than the German retired people or the German or the people who are claiming for unemployment benefits and have worked all their life. You can't do this. You have to make a little difference between them. So you can't treat them better than the others, or you can't leave people in Germany who are murdering, who are raping, and who are doing these awful things and are claiming for asylum, like being proclaiming that they are hunted for in their original countries, but to holiday in their home countries every year. I mean, they say this is ridiculous. You can't say I fear of my life in my home country and make holiday in your home country. Then you are lying. Then you are abusing the German asylum system for income purposes or for economic purposes, and this is not correct. What we need is, and that's what they say, we want to have a legal immigration into the workforce thus we have to make the situation much better, that especially people who want to work are finding better circumstances in Germany than anywhere else. And that's what they are for.
Who approved all of these illegal migrants in the first place when they landed, and how do they continue staying?
Well, there's a network of so-called NGOs and the churches in Germany who make a huge business, probably roughly 55 billion turnover a year, out of this immigration industry. It's a huge industry in Germany, and they are earning money off this. They take the politicians to accompany with them to keep up this illegal stuff. But we have to consider that Angela Merkel made this so-called Compact for Migration, where they agreed on a plan to exchange the population of Europe, of all the member states of this Compact for Migration, where they want to get rid of these old societies. They want to exchange them for others, and this is written down, and this is what they are playing out now.
And Dr. Hammer, what about the role of, at least this is how it's presented in the U.S., the role of Elon Musk as sort of interfering in the German elections, and that this is why they're blaming, at least in U.S. media, blaming Elon Musk for supporting AfD. And there we see him speaking at an AfD event. They're saying that this is interference from Washington. What do you think about that?
Well, this is hypocritical, as all of them, what they do. They don't have a problem when US aid is funding with, or Soros is funding with billions of euros, a propaganda machine to advertise for the powers, for the other parties. They don't have a problem sending the campaigning team to America and openly campaign for Biden and Kamala Harris. So on the other hand, they have a problem when Elon Musk is using his own company to talk with Alice Weidel and give her a possibility to present herself. The only thing is, they are mad that the state-owned media organizations and the so-called quality media in Germany, who agreed on censoring the AfD, was broken through by Elon Musk, because X has such a huge is such a way that you can break the censorship with X. And Elon Musk is very annoyed that the EU wants to shut him down because he doesn't want to accompany in censoring legal posts. The EU wants him to censor all posts they don't like. So everything what they don't like on the political side, they want him to eliminate from X. And he says, no, if this is legal, if there's no court in the world who would rule against this post, I don't eliminate this. We already eliminate everything that is illegal, everything that is violent, everything that is sexistish, and so on. We already eliminate, but we are not eliminating a political opinion, because when you start to eliminate a political opinion, then you can forget about democracy, because democracy is a melting pot of all ideas, and the people. The people who vote, they should take out the arguments they think are best and vote for it.
Yeah, definitely. I think the U.S. The average person across the U.S. is only hearing one side of this, that the Germans are turning Nazi and they want to expel everybody who's, who looks like me or looks browner than me. And I mean, that's just simply not the case, that, we're going to see the Holocaust all over again, but this time with brown people. That's basically how it's presented in the U.S.
The AfD, a nice thing, the AfD has been voted most by the foreigners. The foreigners, the party that has been the highest approval at the foreigners is the AfD. Why? Because they say, we don't like the other people, the criminals, the ones who just abuse the social benefit system. We don't like them. Why? Because we are hardworking. We are doing. We are sticking to the law, and we are doing this, and we are the first ones who are suffering from these criminal activities, because they are living pretty close to these immigrants in those areas. So they are the ones who don't want them most. I mean, this is all ridiculous.
That's very analogous to the support that Trump has received from increasing support from ethnic minorities in the most recent election. What are the prospects for the AfD? Do you think it's going to continue to grow and do better in subsequent elections, or is this? Do you think we're looking at a peak and a plateau?
No, I think as long as the other parties stick together and want to keep everything as it was and keep draining down Germany, the AfD is the escape pole where people are turning to. So if they don't change if they don't dramatically change the things to the better, AfD will probably get a majority at one stage. Could also be in the near future, because.
And when will these? Yeah, when are there scheduled elections coming up soon, or is it? How does it work?
No, well, we have some some regional elections all over the time, nearly every year. But we have the federal election then in 4 years, unless they don't find a coalition.
Right.
And they don't get a solid
snap elections.
Yeah, and then they have snap elections, exactly. So I guess we will have elections in not later than 2 years.
So that would be around the same time as France. I mean, that would be, and France and Germany were the first founding partners of the EU. That would be just absolutely a seismic shakeup. If Le Pen really does look like she's going to come to power in France.
Well, I couldn't. If I would have advised to the AfD, I wouldn't recommend them to go into power yet. Why? Because the times are getting so severe, that economic times are getting so severe on what damage they already have done, that the other parties, like the socialists, the Christian Democrats, who are the cause of these problems, should be the ones who are facing the results of this policy. And so in the next year, I could well imagine that we are on the brink of the greatest recession in world history, and we are on the brink of huge layoffs all over Europe, breaking apart countries, financially breaking apart countries. France is basically bankrupt. Italy is basically bankrupt. Spain is basically bankrupt. Greece is anyway bankrupt. So yes, so they are only on life support from the German tax savings, and so on. So I think this is now cracking, and then you have anyway a totally different situation, and that will be very, very ugly. And if I know the French right and the Spanish right, they will go after the politicians who did this. They are really physically going after these things. You remember with the French Revolution, it was not very nice. It was not very kind for the politicians who didn't want to change.
No, it was very thorough.
Yes, exactly. And I think similar can happen now.
Well, what about? I mean, as they're saying, we're as Macron has said, we're at the precipice of peace in Ukraine. I think we're very close. We know one of Angela Merkel's departing last projects was the Nord Stream pipeline number 2, the number 2 pipeline. That's obviously been destroyed. But if peace comes between the U.S. and Russia and Ukraine, and yet you have the incoming new chancellor saying, no, we continue to support more war in Ukraine. Well, how does that help the German voter keeping their petrol prices down, their heating costs down, and the farmers. I mean, we watched just last year and the year before, 2 summers in a row, the farmers protesting. What does that do for them if the incoming chancellor opposes peace? He's an obstructionist.
Well, if he opposes peace, I mean, let's face it, if he really sends these Taurus rockets, then it means that Germany is actively fighting against Russia. You don't have to forget that we are only in a ceasefire with the allied powers like Russia, America, France, and Great Britain from 1945. We have not a peace treaty yet. So what they agreed was in the 2+4 treaty in 1990 was the Russians are withdrawing from so-called East Germany, but therefore Germany guarantees that they will never be take part in any violation against Russia or against America. So this is a clear break of the 2+4 treaty that was the cause for the Russians to withdraw from East Germany. So technically, they could just restart the fighting from 1945 with every legal approval from the United Nations. So when they would send some pretty quick rockets to some German sites, they couldn't even complain. And Donald Trump made it very clear. He said, "We want a peace treaty. So anything you do is not covered by Article 5 NATO. So meaning we don't help you. If you want to beat up the Russians and all the NATO is already being defeated like nothing, the NATO was actively involved in this war already. So they are completely defeated. The Russian weapon technology is generations ahead of those from the NATO. And German army, which is a joke, according to American experts, should win against Russia. I mean, this is a joke. So what will happen would be that he would face a very angry Russian side and a very angry American side, because Donald Trump doesn't really like if you don't follow his suggestions.
Yes. And real quick before we let you go, take off your economist hat for one moment and put on your regular civilian hat, German civilian. How much have your petrol and heating costs increased since the war in Ukraine began and the Nord Stream pipeline was blown up?
Well, the war in Ukraine didn't make any difference. The difference has been made before. So the war was just used as an excuse from these politicians. Before, it doubled nearly. It
doubled?
More than doubled, yeah. The energy prices rose from 12 cents per kilowatt hour to now 40 cents per kilowatt hour.
Wow, that's
yeah,
quite a
bit. This was mainly not through the war. It was through politics and especially through taxes they put on it. It was not the war. The war is irrelevant mainly irrelevant in this.
So just bad policy.
It's 7.9 cents here in New York City.
Yeah.
Wow. So just bad policy is what drove the prices.
Yeah, and I mean the Green Party made it very clear. They said we want to eliminate the German industrial base.
Why?
Because on the one hand, ideology. And they are, many of those people, as we know now, come from, especially in the Socialist Party, who have key positions now in the party, come from the Antifa. And you all know them in America, how these people are. So these people were throwing stones at politicians, at policemen. And now the head of the police, the Minister of Interior, is a supporter of this group. I mean, what you want to expect from these people? They hate Germans. They hate the industry. They hate every normal life. They hate everything that is in favor of building up something. They just want to destroy
traditional Western.
Yes, exactly.
Western society.
They want to destroy. They want to eliminate. They are just destructive. It's like a sabotage unit, for a political sabotage unit.
very interesting what's happening in Germany, because I do think, as Ted pointed out, what happens in France and Germany dictates what will happen for the rest of the EU. And we're
Yeah.
seeing,
But we have big changes now. These people, like the Greens, were supported by the Davos group. Robert Habeck, Annalena Baerbock, all the party heads were meeting at the Davos group with that Klaus Schwab set up on the request of Henry Kissinger. So when the head of the national security, or the head of the national security in US is asking to set something up, you can well imagine on what the structure is. So this group, there they all met, and there they agreed to crack down the German economy. And there was an old an idea that the French and the Brits especially, and them, they thought the German economy shouldn't be too strong, because otherwise Germany would be the leading power, even politically the leading power in Europe. And we don't want this, because we want to rule Europe. The French are still think that Napoleon is not very far away, that it was that they're still the most powerful, influential country in the world, the Grand Nation. They still believe this, and they hate everybody who is challenging this situation. And they thought when we eliminate the German industrial base, we can compete better, because then we make it equal within Europe. The next thing is that these people want a redistribution of the wealth. So they don't want to work, but they want to redistribute the wealth. And when Germany is too strong and the industrial base is too strong, they don't succeed in redistributing too much, because Germany would be the wealth center, and the rest would be the benefit takers. And everybody knows that those people who are successful in business always have a little bit more than the ones who get the benefits, for the public benefits. And these socialistic ideas don't work anymore. Anyway, the Davos group is bust, because they don't have the support of the new sheriff in town in the US anymore. And they are on a huge decline, because they cut off the industrial or the power base in Europe, where that was the remaining bases they were sitting on, and now they drained it, so they are irrelevant.
Sure, yeah. I don't think being globalists and sovereignty can go hand in hand. I don't think those two can exist.
No, those are in direct opposition.
Oh,
I do wonder, just parenthetically, and this would be opening up a huge can of worms, but I mean, surely Germany and Europe generally have the same problem that the US has, which is with AI and deindustrialization and increased efficiency, we are probably going to have to pay more people not to work, because if we want political stability, because there's not going to be enough work to go around.
Meaning
right?
replacement by AI?
Well, yeah, exactly. Replacement by AI, robotics, and so on. I mean, if we want political stability, we're going to...
On an economic side, I have to say objection, Your Honor, because I don't think that less people are needed. There are needed much more people. AI is just if it's used right, it just makes work easier. And we have many works that nobody likes. Like if you do every day the same, if you fill out every day the same form. I mean, who likes this stupid works?
No,
this can be done by AI, but we already have more work than we have people willing to do the work. So AI would be just the solution in the entire Western Hemisphere for the lack of children we had the last 60 years or longer. So it is a solution to get the work done and get a wealth program. But a big change has done, a big shift in the ideas have been. Donald Trump and the Russian administration, the same, are standing for building up something. They are not this destroying, like redistributing and destroying. The former parties...
Well, they're destroying some government agencies.
Yeah, but he just like in a forest, he just breaks free some trees to get everybody grow again. So no, we are shifting now to a society where we are trying to build up economic wealth again, and to free the people, to renew the powers, the economic powers that are there and that are only hinted of succeeding because of this confiscating taxes and payments to the government and the bureaucracy that kills every private motion. So this is changing now. I think in the Northern Hemisphere we are more and more, so US, Europe and Russia, we are more and more now changing to building up again and to competing in who can grow fastest and best in favor of the people. I think this is changing now.
I hope you're right. We shall see. I hope the next couple of years are not as painful as the last couple of years. And Dr. Hammer, I'd love to invite you back to talk about the whole birth bust around Europe, which is
one of my favorite topics.
Fascinating because rarely we see we won't start the topic now, but I've observed primarily in Christian countries, nobody's making babies.
Well, it's industrial advanced countries is what it is.
No, in socialistic countries you have no babies. In countries with more freedom, you have more babies. It's
interesting
because people have no faith in the future. Because if the government tells you, it doesn't matter if you have children or not, you get paid by the other one, you suck out the next one, and that's what you get paid. Why should they do it? Because children is a wonderful thing, but it is also that you have to step back for a moment, for at least 18 years when they are in school or until they leave school. So it costs money. The holidays cost a little bit more because you have
everything costs a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this interesting conversation for sure that we have to explore.
Let's definitely please come back and let's talk about that. Okay, cool.
Yes, this is very, very interesting topic because we know Germany, France, all these Western industrial nations, including the U.S., surprisingly, less.
And these are and birth rate issues in Europe they go back a long time. I mean, it's a century-old problem.
Yeah. So we'll leave that there because I know we've taken up a little over of your time that we requested you for. Dr. Eike Hammer, thank you so much. Dr. Eike Hammer is an economist and the publisher of Wirtschaft Aktuell. It's a business publication there in Germany. You can learn more about Dr. Hammer and his work over at hammerbrief.de. I'll put that back on the screen because that's Deutschland. DE is Germany. So that's why the D in AFD. That's the D is
correct.
Deutschland.
Yeah. I would think that our listeners, our viewers are smart enough to know that. Yeah.
They do know that. Dr. Hammer, thank you so much for joining. Always a pleasure to speak with you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. All right. So it's great having an economist on. It's like they know stuff.
Yeah. Totally.
All right.
I'm going to take issue with him when we talk about the birth rate thing, about his freedom means more babies theory. If that's the case, Bangladesh is the freest country in the world. I'm like, I don't think that's quite true.
I don't know. I'd have to think about that one. That one, I don't know. All I know is that the fact on the ground.
Agrarian countries have big birth rates, right? For obvious reasons. More kids to work in the fields.
The Amish have a lot of babies.
They tend to be agrarian. They live in.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. So I don't know. That's an interesting topic. I would love an economist perspective on that versus an economist
And
perspective on that would
Elon
be
Musk feels very
different.
strongly about it. He
Yeah, I know.
he keeps saying that like
He just got his
the birth
13th
crisis
baby
is,
mama.
he says the birth crisis is a major problem. The fertility.
I mean, he and Nick Cannon are single-handedly, each of them, trying to solve the birth rate bust in the
yeah,
U.S.
that's not going to quite work. I mean, that's
the
I mean,
Cannons versus the Musks.
he just likes to have kids, but
Just good.
I don't know if he
good
likes
grief.
to raise them. It doesn't sound like that's the
No,
case.
have them, make them.
Right. Mhm.
He-
And then
they
other
make
people
the
raise
baby.
them. Yeah.
I saw producer Robbie pop back on. I'm sure he's not. Yes, Robbie. Before we go, they make the babies.
Yeah, no, I like that guy. He sounds like me. Just going to say, in a lot of ways, it sounds like me.
That's a German
The
Robbie.
accent's a little different, though.
A little bit,
Yes.
but I mean, expecting the fact that maybe your native-born population should be taken care of before you import
First.
hundreds of thousands of people who.
But the reason that they're importing all these people is because of the birth rate issue.
I completely agree. Well, that and also
I'm not
the
saying
fact,
it's justified or that it's good policy.
well, that and also
because
that and
that's
also it's
tied into
war.
the idea that the economy has to constantly increase, which is a feature of capitalism. I think that's stupid. Our idea that the GDP has to go up every year by 2 or 3%, or we're falling behind, is dumb, and it hurts the environment. It's like we're raping the land all the time. Like, why? At a certain point, we should be like, we have everything we need.
It's like the Asian trope with our grades growing up. It's like, oh, why you only get A? Why not A plus?
Right.
Well, that's just stupid because, for example, let's just take Iraq, for example. You go in there, you go to war with the country, you decimate it, you kill millions of them. And then, by the way, we're also going to import hundreds of thousands of the people who we just shit kicked. I mean, are you at war with them or are you not? I mean, it makes no sense. And Ted, I'm with you on this. With AI, a lot of jobs are going away. You don't need that many people.
Elon Musk has said that too.
It's true.
He has repeatedly called in my new book, which What's Left, I talk about. I quote Musk, and he talks a lot about how we need not a UBI, a universal basic income, like Andrew Yang proposed, but a universal high income. In other words, a sustainable living, a real wage that everybody can live off of, because we can afford it.
Of course.
And we just need to. I mean, obviously, we're not Mali. Okay, they can't afford it. But we can, and so just to pay people to sit at home. And by the way, a lot of people who sit at home probably would start new businesses. They'd get bored. They'd become entrepreneurial. It's our nature. We're those kind of monkeys.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think that a lot of people who I know of who are bored, they turn to other things to try and entertain themselves.
Sure.
I mean, it's
Distraction,
Like TikTok?
drugs, sports,
TikTok and
Yeah.
drugs.
drinking.
drugs, booze. I mean, all the
Yeah.
above. Here in Montana, drag racing's big, so you probably see a big increase in that. I mean, there's no one
Mhm.
here,
I
so
don't
knock
know.
yourself
Yeah,
out.
I'd have to think more about all of that. That's the birth rate thing is an interesting one and not going away anytime soon. I think that's, I mean, it's a global industrial problem. And I
Mhm.
actually talked to KJ No about this for my old show, the MO, because of the Western trope that, oh, China's going to collapse now because, they have no more babies. And like they're
I think the reason that we're having babies late is because it's young people are.
industrialization.
It's hard for young people to have kids. They're in debt, right? I mean, what do you need? What kind of infrastructure do you need to have kids?
I almost didn't have
you
any.
either have to
I
pay
mean,
for childcare or you have to have a parent at home.
right.
That costs money.
I almost didn't have one.
You got to have big space. You got to have a big enough place for the kid to be in. So you
But
can't have
also
like a studio apartment in Manhattan.
But
so
you also
need
get rid of
housing.
Like also get rid of birth control and abortion. I mean, that would fix the birth rate problem if you stop just decimating your future generations.
Yeah, but then we
let's
have
be
to
honest.
pay for those kids.
That wouldn't
need to
solve
be
the problem,
cared
yeah.
for,
Well,
you
that
know?
makes babies. People still
It
have
makes
sex.
babies, but
That
then you're
makes
just
the
going to have
babies.
poor people with babies.
We have
more
poor people
poor
already.
people with babies.
Yeah, and I mean
It's
the
a
thing
matter
is,
of priority.
one secret that
Priority.
I always want to tell people who are thinking about having kids is it's actually not as expensive as you think because you don't go out anymore.
Right. That's true. It's a
so
trade-off.
You're never going to the movies ever again.
That's
you
true.
know?
Nope,
That's
it's
true.
done.
It's true. It's true. We'll have a family baby show episode. We gotta.
Oh yeah,
That would be
That
interesting.
would be fun.
we should totally do
Oh.
that. Yeah, we're
And,
all parents.
Mother's Day is
Different-
coming up. And who was oh gosh, I shared the article with you guys. What governor, what was it? Not in Maine. Was it Wisconsin? There's a governor that wants to change Mother's
Inseminated
Day.
peoples? To inseminate people's day?
Inseminated people's. No, thank you, governor. We should do this for Mother's
No,
Day.
it's not Mother's Day. It's to change the definition of mother, right?
Oh God,
It's
that's
Wisconsin.
even worse.
It's
No,
Wisconsin
I was
Governor
right.
Tony Evers wants to
Oh,
change
God.
all gendered terms with neutral ones. This is in the budget, so he wants to change the word in Wisconsin
It is
state
lunchtime.
law from mother to inseminated person. Although
No.
a mother is not you're not inseminated once you give birth, right? Anyway, paternity,
Right, motherhood.
paternity
No.
would be gone and replaced with parentage. I don't have a problem with that one. Others are to replace wife and husband for spouse, while father is changed to parent and mother is replaced with parent who gave birth to the child.
No,
Birthing person?
I'm not a birthing person. No,
Or what is it, like people with uteruses?
right. No, I'm not. No, because there are women without the uterus.
Yeah, there are women who don't have
mean,
uteruses.
There are. That's true.
So I mean, if you get a hysterectomy, do you suddenly become defemaled? Like that's not. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Tony-
well,
Tony
in that
Evers
case,
is an
Manila,
idiot.
you just have to identify as a woman again.
This
I mean, that's
Yeah.
just how
This
that
would
would
be-
work.
this
It's
would make for
stupid.
a good Mother's Day show. I'm just saying. I think a lot of mothers around the country would agree that this is stupid, and that would change to Inseminated Persons Day, because if the word mother doesn't exist, is abolished, then it's not Mother's Day.
I'm so on. I don't even know what
No.
about these kind of these word war things. I mean,
I thought we were done with that with the election of Trump.
on the one hand, I'm
and
kind of like,
Brodus.
I
Elon.
kind of think that there needs to. I mean, there is a place for, like, obviously there's exceptions to these rules, right? Like, not all, women are women by birth, right? But like,
Sure,
on the
fine.
other hand, it's like, this is such a. I guess the question is, it really comes down to how much does a society need to change to accommodate a very, very small minority of people?
Right. None at
and I
all.
don't know the answer to that question.
None. I can answer that question for you. None. If you have external plumbing, sorry, you're a dude. You can wear a dress, you can put on lipstick. You're cosplaying as a woman. You're a freaking dude. Deal with it.
Robbie,
You're a
how
guy.
do you feel about, like, the Americans with Disabilities Act, like, putting ramps on sidewalks and stuff like that?
I have no problem with that.
But it costs a lot of money, right?
I don't care. That's not a problem. The issue that I have,
It's a society spending, like here in New York City, they changed all of the buses to the cost of hundreds of millions of dollars, so that they kneel down so that the wheelchair people can get on and off. And it's very rare to see anyone actually using one.
Are you
I've always wondered,
equating?
why not have a separate, like,
But-
not have a separate, like,
A
van
separate
system
bus
to
for
just
them?
pick them up?
No,
Well,
so here's the question, Ted. Are you equating transgenderism or the ideology with a disability?
No, I'm equating the minority status of transgender people to the minority status
I'm just trying to get you in
of
trouble.
disabled people. And I guess the question is, like, if you're 2%, if you're gay and you're 5% of the population, I guess you rate. If you're,
Well, look,
if you're handicapped
if you're
and you're
trans
half a percent
and
of
in
the
a
population,
wheelchair,
you might rate. But if you're 1/100th of a percent of the population, do you not rate at all?
Well, like-
and where's the cutoff?
if you're
I have a
trans
very-
in a wheelchair, then are you extra, like, special or screwed? It's I don't know.
Both.
I have a very simple solution to this problem.
Mm.
If you are a dude or if you're a woman and you want to pretend that you are the other sex, more power to you. Knock yourself out. Enjoy your life. Do not care. My issue is that whenever you start to force me to accept your crazy definition of what your reality is, I am in no obligation whatsoever to acknowledge, accept, or in any way bend the knee to your insane delusions in your head. You do not get the right to come into my daughter's bathroom. You do not have the right to change the language of the country. You do not have the right to, by using the force of law, to try to compel me to say, you, dude, are a woman. Go to hell.
But
That
No.
right there.
But
I will
Robbie,
die
language
on that
always
hill.
changes. Language always mutates, right? I mean,
Language,
I'm the oldest person here. I'm
Yeah, but
language
you can't
changes.
use-
But Ted, you
and
still
like
have a
for
dick.
example, when I was
You
a
still
kid,
have a penis.
when I was a
You
kid-
can't use, but you
when I
can't
was a
use
kid,
the
they were
law
called
to
colored
force
people.
us.
Then they were called
That's culture.
Negroes
That's
to
culture,
colored people,
Yeah.
to Afro Americans,
Correct.
to African Americans, to blacks with a
Right.
small b, now with a big B. Who knows what it'll be
Now
next week?
POC. Now it's language is changing and
Yeah,
evolving
BIPOC.
on its
I
own.
literally did not know what a BIPOC was.
That's on its own, but it's
BIPOC.
another thing to use the weight of the US government as a weapon, as a cudgel to force people to speak a certain way.
Well,
That's
it's
like
not-
saying you have to
something that
Robbie has to drop his accent and he has to talk like us damn Yankees.
Well, same in the United States. I mean, there are some countries they will put you in prison if you don't use the right pronoun.
Well, in the UK.
Yeah, I mean
And
that's
I
my
guess-
point.
I guess there was a
isn't that part
proposal
of the
in
West?
Canada, right?
Yeah,
I mean
Canada, same
that,
thing. See,
that-
now
that's my
we're-
point.
We got to zip it because we're over
way
time.
over.
But this
Yep.
but this is what I'm saying. Like that's another conversation to be had too. Besides birthright, then are we over woke and DEI with the ascension of the Trump era again?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
So-
look, DEI is still alive and kicking, in the hearts of
Woke.
liberals, and that's half the
And
country.
then we'll talk about
you
that.
know?
And we'll
So, yeah.
talk about that.
Yeah,
We'll talk
they're
about
not-
that's a good. That's
yeah,
the day.
they're
you
in
know?
disarray, but it's not like they don't accept Trump as legit.
No,
Well-
now I just have a quick PSA and a request for the people on Rumble. So the PSA real quick. Those of you who are on YouTube, if y'all want to support the show, you now absolutely can. You can become monthly subscribers, and you can also do what's called a super chat. So that way Ted Manila will see y'all's comments live on YouTube. So if you have a question for a guest or something, drop in there as a super chat, supports the show, and your comment will get read. And on Rumble, it's a lot harder to, like Ted discovered, he tried to subscribe to my channel on Saturday. Rumble makes it hard to support people. In the comment section of this show, if you're on Rumble, if you would like for me to make a video showing step-by-step how you become a paid subscriber, let me know. And if that's something that would benefit y'all, I'll do it. That's all I got for you.
And shout out to Nerd. He says, Ted, transitioning is a choice. Being handicapped is not.
Correct. And just
Well, what about all those people who cut off their own arms and legs?
There's still people, and they guess what? Ted, let me tell you a secret.
I'm not saying that really happened.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you a secret. If you pull out your Johnson and you cut it off, you're still a dude. Sorry. You're still a guy.
Wait. What if it happens in an industrial accident?
It doesn't matter. You're still a dude.
Zip.
You're
Zip
still
it.
a
I'm
guy.
going to mute your mic.
You're still a guy.
Gonna mute your mics, all you men here. Mute. I'm gonna mute you now.
Future-
Okay,
fu-
that's
well,
it.
Hey, this is the
We're
matriarchy.
men for
This
now.
is the
you know.
matriarchy.
Men for now.
I'll label you men for now. For now.
Okay.
Fair enough.
So okay, that does it, guys. Please let Robbie know if you think we need to do a how-to, and we could post a how-to video for each platform. Because we are still trying to grow this thing. We're still trying to measure it out if this is something that we can continue, because the real world is we might have to get real jobs. We're waiting for our old jobs to come back, but that's
We're hoping.
we're hoping. We don't know. And if that doesn't happen, then I don't know. I might need to learn how to, AOC and shake a drink and pour, Ted.
I might have to become a
I don't know.
girl and
OnlyFans.
shake my moneymaker.
OnlyFans. Ted.
Yeah, that OnlyFans theory.
OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Just saying. All right, guys,
Mhm.
that does it. We'll be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern. You guys know how to find us. TMI Show, Ted Rall, Manila Chan, Hasta Mañana. We're out of here. Oh, and producer Robbie. We can't leave Robbie out.
Bye, Robbie.
Adios, amigos. Bye.
Au revoir.
Thank you.